a language prevails not because of any intrinsic merit in the language itself, not any intrinsic merit in its lexical stock or in its spelling system or in its syntax. It prevails by brute force, and generally this has to do with military conquest. Kings always have more influence than poets and scholars. Kings and presidents always have more influence.
All of the records in England had been in French and Latin until 1400. All of this correspondence, even of Henry IV, was still in French. But suddenly after 1400, English writing began to appear.
There was a nationalistic feeling growing through the 14th century, and certainly crystallized by Henry V, who crystallizes our notion of English patriotism during this period.
I won't say that standard English is based upon the language of Henry V, but he was the most influential figure in standardizing the language.
Henry V becomes king in 1412. He immediately starts making plans for war. He immediately needs money and needs the support, particularly of the merchant class of London, which is the wealthiest in the country. After he becomes king, after he starts off on his wars to France, he starts sending many, if not most, of his messages back, his news, to the London citizens in English.
Henry V began to use English for his correspondence, and the king's correspondence was really the way in which law was laid down. The king would write letters to London, he'd write letters to Bristol, he'd write letters to York.
There was an immediate reaction to that, and we can see this by the well-known proclamation of the Brewers Guild in 1422, about the time Henry died. And they simply said outright, since our king has started writing in English, we're now going to start keeping our own records in English. And they did.